Hi guys! Elise again with another book rec slash craft video. This week I'm going to teach you guys how to cross stitch. I will be making a cross stitch of Strega Nona, and it will be presented and framed as a gift for one of our booksellers who's leaving us sadly, and I'm very upset, so I'm making her a goodbye present. And I know how much she loves Strega Nona as a book, and how much she loved it when Tommy DePaula visited us last fall. So to pair with Strega Nona, who is, a magical, awesome pasta witch from Italy. This is a program I kind of gear it towards YA and adult readers and crafters. So we're not going to do Strega Nona, but Strega Nona is a classic, and if you have kids, please read Strega Nona with your kids. Anyways, for you older readers, we have Women in the Kitchen, 12 essential cookbook writers that defined the way we eat from 1661 to today, from present day cookbook writer Anne Willan. And so this goes from the first female cookbook writer in Britain in the 1660s all the way to Julia Child into the present day. And what Willan does, which is really cool, is she gives a brief biography of these women and how they came to write cookbooks, what the situation was at the time, and why it was so significant for these books to come out when they did, and how they affected British or American society, depending on which country they were in. They focused on Britain and America. But what she also does is she takes the recipes from these cookbooks, presents the original recipe, but makes them in a way that you could actually prepare yourself. And there's some that sound disgusting, like pickled oysters, but there's some that actually sound really good. So give them a try. Have fun. But because we're doing Strega Nona, we're not going to cook any of these. I'm not going to tell you because I don't want to give you spoilers. But we're going to make Strega Nona herself. Let's get crafting. For this craft, you're going to need some Aida cloth. That's the cloth that has the holes in it. That's how you put the thread through. I used 14 count, which means there's 14 stitches per inch. An embroidery hoop. This is an 8-inch hoop, which means it's 8 inches in diameter. Some sewing floss, or thread, however you want to call it. And a picture that you want to draw, and a pattern. You can buy a pre-made pattern online, or what I did is I took this picture of Strega Nona and I copied it onto some graph paper that's roughly the size of the 14 count Aida cloth and made a pattern based off of that. It's very easy. Before you can start sewing, you need to get your Aida cloth in a hoop. The hoop keeps the Aida cloth in place and stretched out and makes it possible for you to sew without the cloth falling apart. So you're going to unscrew your hooks, you're going to take out your cloth. I got this one at Joann Fabrics. It's their name brand one. It wasn't that great. It was very stiff and it was really hard to get the needle through. You'll see it when I'm sewing. I'm struggling with it. But the brand that Michaels has is actually really, really good. Get that brand. So you roll it out and you're going to put the hoop on the center or wherever you want the cloth to be. For me, it's easier to have the overflow going top to bottom, so that's how I'm facing it. And you put the part without the screw on the back, and then you put the screw on top, and then you're going to screw it together. It takes a few times. Make sure it's nice and tight. That way it's nice and thick and you can get your needle through easily. Okay, so I should have definitely started with a darker thread to show you guys with, but this is how you're going to start your thread and how you're going to start a row of stitches, and it's going to be the same every single time. So when you need new thread, you're going to unwrap it from the spool and you're going to cut it off, and each ream of thread is made out of 6 strings, and depending on how many strings you use depends on makes the thickness of the stitches, and the best thickness I've found is 2, so you're going to separate 2 off of it, so for each length that you cut, you get 3 different rounds of sewing. So you're gonna divide it and go slowly, go carefully, because it can tangle and it cannot, and that's not fun. So once you have your stitches, you're going to put it on the needle, and then you're going to start sewing. When you first start your pattern, it's important to figure out where you're going to start it in your hoop so that it fits easily within the hoop. If it's a bigger project, you can move your hoop around, but you're going to try to start in a place that your whole design is going to fit in the hoop. So in my case, I'm starting at the top with her wimple, so I'm going to move further up towards the center of the top of my thing. And when you start your thread, you don't want it to go all the way through because that defeats the purpose. So you're going to hold it down with a finger and you're going to pull it through, and then you're going to start making X's. So I'm pulling it through to a stitch in a spot bottom diagonal, and then I'm going to make an X. Once my first X is done, then the thread should be secure and I can keep going. And you're going to keep doing your threads, doing your stitches and your X's, following the pattern for that color until either you're done with that color or you need more thread. And once you're done with that, you want to secure that thread so it doesn't come up done from the last stitch, and you're going to thread it through in the back through the stitches that have already been done, and you're going to pull it through. You're going to make sure it's nice and secure, and then you're going to trim it, and then you're going to keep doing that until you're done. So cross stitch takes a very long time, so I'm going to be doing this again and again and again, and I will be filming myself intermittently so you can see my progress. For this craft, because she has a very light face and the wimple's very light, and because she has that kind of cartoony feel, I'm going to be outlining her in this dark kind of navy greenish color, not quite black. But what I'm going to be doing is doing a back stitch around as an outline. So you're not doing the X's like a normal cross stitch. You stitch up and then you stitch forward and then you do it backwards and reverse and go around that way until you run out of stitches and it'll stay in. You finish it off like you do a normal Once your project is complete, if you don't want to leave it in the hoop, I'm going to frame mine, but what you want to do is make sure the fabric's nice and clean. So you take it out of the hoop, and you see it's all wrinkled, and you have the mark of the hoop. So we are going to iron it to make it nice and smooth, and it's important that when you iron it on the opposite side so in case there's any issues, you don't damage the part that you're trying to display. So I'm just going to iron it until it's smooth. And if you're going to frame your project like I am, it's sometimes good to have a stiff base to help keep the fabric nice and smooth when you put it in the frame. So I'm using an old cardboard box, a cereal box, and I'm going to cut out the size of the frame I need. So I'm going to cut out the box, and then I'm going to take from the frame the little paper display that's the right length, and I'm going to trace that and cut it out on this, and make sure it's the right size, a little bit smaller so that when you have the excess fabric from the cloth that you used, it'll still fit in the frame. And you're going to cut the size, and then you're going to cut the fabric so that it will fold over, and then you just tape it on with masking tape. And the finished product looks like this. It took me roughly 15 hours to sew. I did it on and off for about 3 days over the weekend, but I would normally do this a little bit here and there on my own while I'm watching TV. It would usually probably take me about a month to complete, but when it's done, it looks really good, and it's a really easy gift to make. It's under $10 when you buy all the supplies for the sewing and for the frame. It's super easy. I encourage you to do it. It's fun, it's original, it's a great gift, and if you're interested, that's obviously Strega Nona, and the book that I recommended again today was Women in the Kitchen, 12 Essential Cookbook Writers Who Defined the Way We Eat from 1661 to Today by Anne Willem. And that's all. See you next time.